So that's what is a snapshot of real people today already using these services. Moving on, looking at what's ahead. One of the things that we hear about a lot, of course, with the delays and the elections, the 3G services. We'll hear the views from one of the operator panelists later on this evening about what they're doing about this in terms of accessibility, tariffs, etc. But this is going to be another big impact factor in making the services more richer and easy to use. Handsets. We've seen people using phones, to people using phones, to people actually using phones this way. You've seen a shift in how people are using the device as a visual, rich display device to consume content. And once people are used to a big screen device, we've seen they cannot go back. People who have moved to any of a large screen device, it takes them a little time to get used to touch, etc. But once they've gone to that experience, it's very hard to move back because you're so used to consuming all the data you want. I have personally started, seeing the difference in amount of email and internet time that I do on my PC once I start using an iPhone is dramatic. It significantly moves you away from other media. This becomes the internet. This is your first device that you reach out, and this is what automatically occurs to you. And every major manufacturer, is already producing large screen touch devices. It's just a question of maybe a couple years before this becomes the predominant type of a device form factor. One of the big challenges for India is going to be availability of these services in multiple languages. We have our own share of original technologies to conquer this problem, but we believe as the media publishers from different of these regional language mediums start publishing the content, that's when the mass medium, the mobile internet will really become a mass medium, and it's happening as we speak. You'll hear announcements coming in the next few weeks and months from many of the majors publishing their regional content on mobile internet. The other big one, and we've seen this happen in the last 1 year in a big way in the US market, is rich ad experiences. The difference for a user to see an ad that he can slide, it starts the car and gives him a view of the car and asks the user for a test drive. That kind of an engagement with an advertising is something that's new, and it's starting to become extremely compelling. Very high recall, instant actionability, impulse-based, because you could use it any time in the day and not necessarily when you're at a particular place. And also ability for a response mechanism to ask for a test drive. And because phone is a communication device, you can actually get a call back or even call to complete the transaction, and that makes the whole device a very, very powerful way of reaching that type of ad experience. Even more catchy mechanisms like shake to refresh for cocktail ads, or being able to have a rate counter running for a airline pricing ad, etc. Those are all mechanisms that we're starting to see proliferate heavily in the mobile advertising space, and you can see more of this coming soon. So I'll just spend a quick 2 minutes. I won't take much time because I think most of you here would already be aware of what the ecosystem is. But the whole ecosystem that's emerging in this area is a little different from the traditional ecosystem for value-added services or content purchases, which was what was to be the majority of the business in this market. The big players here are going to be the broadcasters, publishers, the advertisers, and agencies, in addition to the traditional players like the operators and handset manufacturers. And we see each of them having an interesting role to play. The publishers clearly are moving towards creating compelling real-time content. This is not static videos, it's not static ringtones, it's real-time content, things that happen as we speak. And be able to do that and package them to target different consumer segments. And they also have the ability to promote the services. They're not depending on an operator to allow you to discover the services on the deck. It's now that you can go directly to the brand that you recall, whether it's a NDTV or a CNN or a Money Control. You know where to find your content because you know the brand. You'll have some interesting data points coming up from the US market soon about the shift that they've seen in the market for on-deck to off-deck for many of these large publishers. On-deck has almost become irrelevant in the last 18 months, that fast. And we're starting to see that happen here in this market. In the last 1 year, we've seen a tremendous amount of shift of traffic to many of the publishers who both have an on-deck placement and an off-deck placement of the same service, we're seeing the off-deck take off in a much bigger way. Agencies and advertisers clearly are now going to use this medium. It's not just banner ads anymore. It's creative, interactive advertising, mechanisms to uniquely target groups of users at different times of the day and different locations, and also have a strong performance and measurement capability. Mobile device manufacturers, we're going to have somebody from that group being represented on the panel as well at 4 o'clock. You'll hear from them what their whole change in direction has been and how they are now using, playing a different role, where they're giving capabilities into the handsets. In addition to multimedia and internet capability, a lot of capabilities around location and cameras, etc., coming on the manufacturers' devices, as opposed to expecting that from operators. Also providing distribution. They're becoming another kind of a deck where users can discover content on the phone itself. That's a big shift. And operators clearly are playing multiple roles here. One is, of course, providing access, but in addition to that, having or being able to do creative rate plans. And we'll ask some of these questions to our operator panelists later in the evening, what they're intending to do, how are they going to make the access to these services a lot more interesting and compelling. And lastly, of course, platforms. And clearly, companies like ourselves and others in the space are being able to now provide both publishing, distribution, marketing, ad management solutions to deal with all the complexity in an easy and simple way. So with that, I'll move on to some really interesting sessions. We have some real data, real case studies, things. Many of these have never been published before. It's some of these things you'll be hearing for the first time today in this audience. And I'll let